In the biggest crossover match that can be made since Floyd Mayweather took on Conor McGregor, Tyson Fury finally faced Francis Ngannou, leaving speculation of, is this your champion, as Fury Idolators have now turned an about face after his performance. Let's talk about what could be next after this debacle by Fury. October 28th, a date that is now in the history books in the sport of boxing, as Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou finally came through with their promotion, which was billed as the Battle of the Baddest. The baddest being the best of each fighter's respective sport. When it came for Tyson Fury, he is the WBC heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. When it came to Francis Ngannou, he is a heavyweight champion fighter from mixed martial arts, a striker expert from that sport who had been in talks to possibly cross over to the sport of professional boxing, as he has always looked to compete in the sport of boxing at some point in his life. In steps the Gypsy King, who gave Ngannou a chance to face a current so-called heavyweight champion. Now, whether Fury entered this promotion dismissive of Ngannou's abilities, or it was simply who he truly is as a person and professional fighter, what we saw was less than climatic. What we saw was less than scintillating. What we saw was a fighter who really should not have had a chance to compete against the so-called baddest man on the planet in boxing. But yet and still, we were left to witness a man not only coming from outside the sport of boxing, where Fury has been boxing since he was a kid, and Ngannou stepped right into the ring and stepped right toward the heavyweight champion and gave him more of a competitive fight than he expected. But what did Fury really expect? I'll tell you what his idolaters have expected. They've expected to place him in such lofty-like status that they would dare to equate his merits on par with greats like Muhammad Ali. That is an abomination, and people should really do a reassessment as consideration of what greatness is in modern sport and what has been prior to modern. It is disgraceful to take a person who has a history of cutting corners, who has a history of embarrassment and shaming, who has a history of violating and cheating, and equate him with being great. But the masses that really support this have wanted to see a man so badly not representative of what we have seen through pretty much the latter day of boxing, just to have a lofty place and position in the sport. Redman Edwards said that he watched Fury versus Ngannou and thought to himself that if Ngannou had a little more gas, he could have won this fight convincingly. And he's not going to criticize him, because going 10 rounds with the most prominent heavyweight in his era in his pro debut is a remarkable feat, and he doesn't take it lightly. And I agree with Redman. But if this was the baddest man on the planet, why was he able to have such struggle against a man who never boxed a professional fight a day in his life? Is it true now that Fury, who may not have had his assets that have allowed him to be successful in times past, many times over, that it is really a sham? Because, like I said, his idolaters, who are now turning the about face against him, are being heavy critics, when people like Stormy B-Man have been a heavy critic the entire time. I've watched the sham take place, and Ngannou just happens to be a participant in this situation, but it is not his fault. But we thank Francis Ngannou for helping to bring the truth to the brim. And it can no longer be denied that there is something afoot and of assistance that has kept Fury in the loop for so long. Let us not forget, he weaseled his way out of a rematch that was deserving by former unified heavyweight champion Vladimir Klitschko. There were things that took place during that fight and what significantly took place after the fight that suggested that Fury was never on the up and up, and Klitschko could have been wronged as well. But enter Francis Ngannou in a space and time where the attributes, let's call them, that Fury has enjoyed regionally would not be able to be available to him. The resources of things behind the scenes and under the table, questionable antics and ethics that have been a part of the Gypsy King's career, weren't there to assist him on this night. And you know what? He looked ordinary. He looked so ordinary that moderately he looked like he may have been the novice on this night when he faced Ngannou. Remember the blatant elbow? Wow. Thrown with such aggression. We've seen tactics and antics like that from Fury before, and he's always gotten away with it. But on this night, he was in with a man who was accustomed to those type of shots. And that very fighter introduced Fury to the canvas. Your heavyweight champion on the canvas, looking up at a novice. Think about it. Is this a position that Ali would have found himself in? Is this a position that Larry Holmes would have found himself in? What about Joe Louis? Huh? You see, Lennox Lewis wouldn't have been found sunbathing on a canvas against a novice. But this is where we are. And the sham has come to its conclusion. So I say thank you to Francis Ngannou for showing us the reason why Tyson Fury doesn't even want to face Alexander Usyk, a much smaller man with greater accomplishments, real accomplishments, from the amateurs to the professional ranks, to championship unifications and undisputeds, to presently waiting to unify for undisputed at heavyweight, while Fury still plays these games of a cheater. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about Tyson Fury's disgraceful performance against Francis Ngannou. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.